Stand strong, stand tall, don't give up, warrior woman. You are the strength, the foundation of who we are. Blessed is one, blessed is two, blessed is three, a warrior woman. Stand strong in unity and keep firm.
Hello, everybody. This is Mike Harrell, and today we're going to be talking to LindaJo Free, who is the sister of Barry Webster, and he's sort of like the organizer and the head of the REZ Sasquatching. We're going to open up today with a little prayer first. You know, that's part of what we're going to talk about.
Okay,
Take it away, Barry.
Michael, I want to correct you on one thing. It's REZ Squatchin Research.
REZ Squatching Research.
REZ Squatchin Research.
Right, and there's also a group on Facebook of that same name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Sasquatching, it's REZ Squatchin.
REZ Squatching, okay. Sorry.
Community.
I messed it up right at the beginning.
And you're talking about us messing it up. Oh, what a guy, what a guy.
All right, I'll go ahead and say a quick prayer then to kind of get us in the right frame of mind and the right spirit. So bear with me here. First of all, I want to thank you, Michael Harrell. Again, part of our culture, we always start things off with the prayer, so I appreciate that, you know. So, all right. Our Heavenly Father, we're so grateful for this day and grateful for our blessings, and we ask that you bless those that are mourning and bless those families with strength, faith, and courage, and that they may turn to Jesus for comfort and guidance and direction. And I ask that you bless us as we discuss some of the details about our encounters, and may the Holy Spirit guide us, and may you bless Michael Show and bless my sister Linda here. Again, the Spirit may speak through us, and that we may uplift and inspire others to live according to the Father in heaven's laws. And again, we're so grateful for this opportunity, and we say this humbly in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so thanks for showing up, and I'm going to try to turn it over to you guys as much as possible. We're going to be talking about the spiritual side of Sasquatch, and we're going to be talking about some things that need to be said and people need to hear about being in your heart, and some of the things that have happened to the REZ Squatching Research, and so you guys just take it away, whichever topic, because you got the going invisible, partially going invisible, shaking a Bigfoot's hand when he was invisible. Then you've got having a small baby Sasquatch come up and talk to you, and a lot more. So take it away.
I'll go ahead and get started, sis, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Okay, I want to say this before we get started that, I got this strong feeling that the other side that I didn't really care to share. I wanted to share that with whoever's listening out there, that spiritual side of it, that we strongly believe that you have to have in order to have, what we would call, interaction or relationship with what I've been hearing a lot is the forest people or the giants, whatever you want to call it. My people call him Sitonga. And so anyway, I personally feel, that it's time to share the other side. And I've asked my sister to come along and join us here and do most of the storytelling or the explain the encounters. And so I wanted to say that much before we get started. So I'll let the sister Linda here just kind of go in her little order, whatever comes to her head. And I'll chime in when I need. So could do that, sis?
Okay.
All right, so go ahead and just relax and let them go.
Can't help it. Oh, good evening, good evening. All right, let's go with the one up on the baby Sasquatch, or the juvenile that was coming down the branch. We were sitting in this spot, and it was myself, Barry, and another person with us, and we sat and listened and seen all the eyes shine all around us, and Barry decided to get out of the truck. And so we usually ride in my truck. So we got out, we walked to the front of the truck, and what happened there was that we were talking, introduced ourselves, and then we did our interactions, and we decided it was time to go. And Barry started to say the ending prayer for us for the night, thankfulness, and it was such a beautiful prayer. And then I noticed movement up to my left, and then when I looked up, it was right above Barry, about 6 feet away from him. The branch was hanging down and was just face down. I mean, the way it was hanging on, I could still see it in my mind's eye, and slowly inching down towards Barry as he was in prayer. And I was just watching. I couldn't believe it. The eye shine, just a little bitty person. And then it got within 4 feet of Barry while he was praying. I didn't know if Barry had seen it, but oh my goodness, it was such a beautiful sight. And later on, as we got in a truck and we were talking, but in the meantime, while we were still out there and that little guy was inching down, all the adults around us didn't rush in, didn't move in closer or anything. They just pretty much stayed right where they were at, and pretty much watching our reactions. And then it was just such a beautiful prayer that he said, and you could feel God within your heart, your mind, and your spirit. And feelings is what you were feeling, and I believe that's what they were feeling also. They felt the strength of the prayer. And it was just an amazing night. And we got in a truck and we discussed what had happened. And we were just jabbering really fast and pretty much calmed down a lot. And we talked about the little juvenile just coming down. It was just a baby. And as Barry had spoken up, he goes, man, it was like he could have put his arms out there and it would have jumped in his arms. I believe that. I believe had Barry put his arms out to catch him, he would have jumped down. But that was pretty amazing night there. You got anything to say to that, brother?
Well, I think, now that, I feel good about talking about the details, I think, the code, so to speak, I really, and I know I talk about it kind of in a very roundabout way. But I think the important thing through all that, you know, I've had people say that, you know, they trust you, Barry. You know, I've heard all kinds of compliments, and I appreciate that. But I think more importantly, and here's where, sis, you can agree or disagree with me, but I strongly believe that there is such a presence of the Holy Spirit.
Very true.
It's really, and it's hard to talk about. Society, you know, is corrupted out there, and there's, you know, what I would call, you know, is there any real spirituality out there? Because I think that's the key, and I know I hit on it a little bit on the page, but the truth is that I believe there is something spiritual going on, and I've made no bones about that. And I think you can, you know, feel the Spirit, and I think that they basically, you know, are looking for that. You know, they're looking for that blessing, and it helps them. And I think you can attest to that. Now, you can agree or disagree with that, sis. So.
No, they look forward to it, especially when you talk about, you know, we're here visiting and that you're going to say a prayer for them. And when things happen to where we have to exclude out of the area, we go back and we finish that what we said we would do, say the prayer for them, give them a blessing, you know, for interactions. And that's what really, I really love it when we do go back, or when we do complete, you know, our visitation, or yeah, I don't call it visitation. It's just being out there with them. I don't want to say communing either, because that's not the correct word for it. But I think you guys get my drift here, is that we go out to interact with them, and it's such a peaceful feeling. And then when prayer is offered, you can feel the spiritualness of it all and our belief. And there's quite a few things that, you know, we've done out there that helped us bring that belief in even stronger yet. I don't know. But yeah, you're right, brother. I agree with you totally.
For let me jump in here. Could you frame this event? How many years have you been going out there to see him before there was this level of trust that they would let a young juvenile come that close to you? And how many of these years were you doing your entry prayer or morning prayer, and then the prayer when you get to the site? I think that's important, because this didn't happen the first time you went out.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, and I think about 11 years, you know, if I could, in hindsight, I would say about 3 years ago. So we're talking anywhere from 7 to 8 years. But I don't think that time was all that much of a factor. I think it was the more we started to understand that this is what they wanted. And I don't think time is really was the whole key to it. However, I do feel those things were a part of it. I think it was more of being in tune, so to speak, feeling the Holy Spirit. Now, I'm of the belief, strong believer in that once you're in tune with God, and in that He'll reveal things to you, and He's made that promise even in the Scriptures, that the mystery of the world will be devoted if you humble yourself and come on to me. Now, by no means does that make me perfect, but I can tell you that there is a different feel different. Um, it's spiritual, and so that's kind of my take on that. I would say maybe to answer the question specifically, I would say about 4 years ago is when I really started to get, you know, these close this close interaction.
And was that as you intensified your prayer, or you made that real the center focus of what you were doing? Was that going along at the same time?
Yeah.
I think it really began when I came on, right? When we really intensified.
Yeah, yeah. I think Linda and I and others, I can't stress enough, you know, again, that it's the connection between the individuals, the energy we give off, and as I've stated, you know, that the Spirit, the Holy Spirit will reveal those things. And anyway, it's just a beautiful thing, and
Yes, it is.
it's just hard to even you know look back on it and say, wow, you know, I'll be, you know, for example, when I travel, you know, there'll be times when, you know, I'll just think about that and go, wow, you know, I just can't believe that happened, you know, to this day, some of the spiritual experiences we've had. So anyway.
How far above, he was like, it's still on the bottom limb of a tree, and how far above you was it?
I would say he was probably eye level with me, because I did glance over at him maybe 3 or 4 times as I was talking. And, you know, at the time, you know, I know there's people that are going to watch this and probably think, why didn't you take a picture of him? Why didn't you, whatever, you know? But at the time, there was this feeling and this deep connection that was the furthest thing from my mind, and it was just surreal. You know, I think that I would have had, you know, a juvenile in my hands had I reached out. And you know what? I don't worry about that. You know, I don't worry about trying to impress anybody. I'm gonna tell it as it happened, and you know, that's it. So anyway.
No, I just want to get the whole movie in my head right. How soon was it during your prayer and everybody was praying with you, or was it right after the prayer that he got so close?
It was during,
Yeah.
and when we got out in front of my truck, and this person was just a new person that came with us. It was her first time out, and I tried, and she told me there was a big one on the side of the truck, and I said, yeah, I know. And when I was standing there, I'm trying to think about this, and then I told her, I said, well, just scoot next to me. And then Barry walked up. I said, we stay together. So we're not going to leave him out there by himself. So we took 2 steps behind him also. When he took 2, we took 2. And we stayed together in a tight group. But there was like 3 feet between us. So he wound up underneath that branch that came down. I didn't notice the movement to my left, but I heard a lot of it. You could hear walking, you can hear movement in the trees and stuff. So, and then when he finally, you know, he's in prayer, first we were just talking, and then that's when Barry said, you know, I think it's time for us to, you know, call it a night, and I'm going to offer a word of prayer. And I said, okay. So we bowed our heads, and then I could just hear that movement more. So that's when I looked up, and that's when I seen that little guy up there, because they were all around us, and there was no intimidating feeling. There wasn't anything but just good feelings in our heart and our mind. It was just so, it's just a peaceful feeling.
What did he look like? Because some people say that the juveniles look different than the adults. And people want to know. They really want to feel in their hearts what about the Sasquatch people. You know. Did it?
It was so dark out. To me, it looked like a little monkey, but then again, it looked like a little child, body of a little child. But it looked the way it was hanging on to that tree. Its hind feet were hanging on, and his his hands were hanging on to the tree branch in front of him as he was coming down head first. He wasn't backing down to Barry. He was coming head first towards him. And as Barry was doing his prayer, that little guy was just inching closer and closer, just move, and then his eye shine was just so bright. The closer he got to Barry, and I think I don't know, my feelings is that when Barry prays, his prayers, you can feel the Spirit of God. You can feel so good. It feels really good. And I believe that little one, he felt it too, and right along with all the adults that were around us. We were surrounded, but it wasn't an intimidating feeling.
Yeah. If I could, sis, are you done?
Yep.
Okay. If I could describe it, I think Linda probably hit it on the head. He was kind of a small guy, but you could tell that there was monkey-like movements. The way he was coming down branch, you know, there was real balance. It was almost like a monkey, but the nose was more. It wasn't pushed in, you know, like a monkey.
Yeah.
He had like a human nose. And the reason why I could tell you that, because obviously I was close to him, but his eyes kind of lit up, and it lit up around here.
That's right.
Yeah, he had a little mouth, and so I thought his color was gray. Eyes were kind of not like the Spider-Man look, but more like juvenile looking. And, you know, hindsight again, you know, I would have loved to, but it was that deep respect at the time. I would have loved to just stood there. You know, you think about these things after the fact. I would have loved to stay there and watch them walk away. But during the interaction, it's one of those deals where you have to be there to experience it, because there's a tremendous amount of respect, and I get those feelings. And sometimes I tell, you know, the team, listen guys, let's go, you know, let's show them respect, you know. And I see so much, and I'm not knocking anybody, but everybody's after that $1 million picture, that image. And I just believe that they know our heart, and they know that it isn't about money.
True.
And
very true.
That's the beauty of this relationship now. You know, I really believe that is the key right there. They know our heart.
I think so too. LindaJo, could you try to feel inside and remember how many adults and how many of their clan were around you? Because I got a feeling this is an important part of the picture. First, there was one that was obviously close to the truck, and then but you had a really strong feeling that there was more around. How many?
You could see their eye shine. When we first got there and we sat in the truck, just letting them know that we were there, and, you know, just preparing ourselves. You know, I prepare by praying. I'm in prayer all the time, and I'm not trying to knock anybody saying, well, you're not in prayer. You got to get in prayer. You know, it's just who I am, and I'm not asking anybody to join in and, you know, be a part of that. But I feel you have to be of the right heart, mind, and spirit, and be respectful in your way of doing things. And so as we were sitting in the truck, And when I know if Barry and I are going to go out, I prep myself all day long. And as we were sitting in the truck, and this was what, about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, Barry?
Yeah.
And you could see them coming down the hill where we came in. You can see them out there. There was two of them behind us because you could see the eye shine. You could see them walking down. You could see them. And then in front of us on Barry's side, was there one, two, four of them over there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And then down below, you could see them coming up that ridge, down that creek bottom, and they were coming up, and you could see one, two, I think there was three of them. And then off to my left, there was just one standing there. So there was quite a bit. There was quite a bit of them.
So that's at least 8 from what I could count. But I want to go back to what you said about being in prayer, because I think that is really, really key. This is one of the reasons why we're doing this talk tonight, is because you personally say that you're in prayer when you know you're going to go out that night or you're going to go out the next day. You prepare yourself by staying in prayer, staying in your heart for a long period of time. And you told me earlier that you had actually connected with the Sasquatch from the time you can remember, and you did that in prayer.
I was a little girl then. We call it the Fields property where we go, and that's where our next story is going to go at. I grew up out there, and when Barry took me out there, we got a new spot, sis, and I said, oh, cool. And I was all fired up to go, but then again, real hesitant to go, and here he was going out towards west, and I was like, what the heck? And in my head, I'm thinking, I was like, holy buckets. And I seen that farmer cleared all that tree line. And I was real sad because we used to just showed I had a time limit on Zoom.
That's okay. We got that. Got that covered.
Okay. So we turned around and we got out, and that's when I told brother, I said, hey, I grew up here. I said, I ran the timbers here, but that's where my story came from, is that I was playing hide and seek with my brother and sister. They're littler than me. We couldn't find my little sister, or I thought that was her over there. So we went booking over there because I found my brother first, because it kept peeking out and then go back in. And then we was just booking it over there trying to say, we got you. Here it peeked out again, and then it went behind the tree again. And I was like, what the heck? She got something on her? So we just kept running towards her. And then when we got to the tree, there was just a little juvenile. It was just probably about as tall as my little brother. My little brother is 2 years younger than me. I think I was 6 or 7 at the time. So, yeah, it was just a little guy. And we didn't think nothing of it. We just shrugged our shoulders, turned around. Well, it's not Jonita. So we left. And we went, I said, let's just go back to the house. And sure enough, my little sister was at the house. She was munching. She was eating lunch. So we just blew it off and just ate lunch also. Didn't talk about it. It was just all part of what we seen as we were out there cruising the timbers. But that's what I meant, what I referred to when you was talking about, I mentioned that to you earlier, that, I've seen them all my life and being in prayer, from growing up, we are all taught religion from our families, family members, our mothers, fathers, grandparents, and stuff. So we just carried that on. And being a little kid, we're just out there cruising the timbers, just enjoying ourselves, no electronics as they are today. But when we went out there, and we've gone out that same spot a few times after I let brother know my relationship out there, and that our family cemetery is out there. And at one time, we had a group of people, myself, my nephew, my grandson, another female, and Barry and I. And we sat for a little bit on one part of the hill. Then we decided we'd fold up the folding chairs and go up and over the rise and go to the next spot because it was a little bit more flat and we could see a little bit if the cars were coming or not. So we got out there and we was talking and laughing and just enjoying ourselves. And Barry said, "All right, guys, I think it's time." He said, "All right." So we got, got with the program and did our introductions and talking, speaking with them and stuff. And then we figured, well, it's time to go. Well, I think we spent, what, Barry, about 40 minutes there?
Yeah.
So we were there, and Barry said, "Well, I'm going to end this with a word of prayer." So we all bowed our heads, and we were listening to Barry's prayer, and I just happened to look up, open my eyes, and you could see somebody standing next to Barry. And he had his left arm around Barry. The person that was standing there was white, and he had a robe on, and you could still see him with his head bowed next to Barry. And then all of a sudden there was a light behind us. It went around them guys. Them two were over there, and then she was right here. Barry was in front. Went around us. And so I decided I'm going to turn around and look. And when I looked, all I seen was looked like white lines, and it was like two wings, but there was nothing else with it. You couldn't see the detail of it, but I could see the hard white lines. And then just that quick, it disappeared. And the humbleness that you felt like you wanted to cry. That's how the spiritual feeling of it all, it felt so beautiful. It was just beautiful. But we took them down there due to the fact that we had taken a couple out there, a couple of girls. They didn't want to get out of the car. So they pulled in behind my truck. They were following us throughout the reservation. And we stopped down there, and we turned around and we pulled in. And we noticed the girls weren't getting out, but Barry and I got out and we was walking back towards their car, which was parked behind me. And all of a sudden, this white light appeared above us, a great big white ball of light. And I looked at Barry and I said, "You see that?" And he looked up too. And all of a sudden, what's that sound it made, Barry, before it disappeared?
Kind of like, I've heard that, when they, like on YouTube, they show a bomb going off, like it goes, kind of a low tone.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really a cool noise. I thought anyway. It was really kind of like something exploding, but with a deep, low frequency or whatever.
Yeah.
However you would call that. Really.
Yep.
Now, sis, I want to clarify something because I think you talked about two experiences. One was when the angel was hugging me.
Mm-hmm.
The time is when we took those ladies, when the light appeared and it popped.
See, that's where I was getting at.
Oh,
That's where I was getting at.
all right.
So that was the reason why we took them, Joe Bear Jr. and the other one with us, and you and I. That's why we took them down there, was to experience that white ball of light that we had seen. What was that, about a couple of weeks prior?
Yeah.
Something like that. But Barry and I seen that ball of light. Those two young ladies didn't see a thing, but they seen us pointing up in the air, and I'm like, what? It lit up the whole area. And I was like, how come they didn't? And it still puzzles me to this day that they didn't see that ball of light, but they seen us pointing up there because we were standing right in front of their vehicle. And I was like, why didn't they see it? It still puzzles me, but that's why we took the mothers down there, to see if we can get that same experience and let them see what you and I had witnessed.
Yeah. About the invisible upper body.
Who was we with? I'm trying to recall this. Who are we with?
Marcella.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. Because we were at the same spot, and we were trying to find people to come with us, and they didn't want to go or whatever. And I'm a firm believer of what Barry says, is that I'm not going to force you to go. So, if it happens, it happens. People that are there are supposed to be there. So we went down there, and it was really foggy. Oh, my God, it was so foggy out. Because I was driving, and then we parked in the same spot again. And they had talked through Barry, and you could tell that was not Barry talking, because my brother don't talk to me like that. But he was firm with me, and he was almost like he was getting after me, and I was like, this isn't my brother. But we were out, we introduced ourselves, we did our introductions, we did, some speaking, and we talked to them a little bit. And usually I bring apples or, some kind of treat, something of the sort. And he turned around and he goes, are you going to be scared if I show myself? And at the time, I was just listening to his tone, and I wasn't listening to the words he was saying. And then he said, are you going to be scared if I show myself? And I'm like, oh, wait, hold on here. You need to, that's what my first feeling was. And I thought, Linda, go with it here. And at the time, this Marcella was with us, and she was not in a good spot at that point in time. And I know it was a different spot. It was a different place for her, new place. And so I just said, yeah. And then at the same time, Marcella said, yeah. By then, she got in my truck in the back seat. And so Barry said, I can't recall what you said after that. And you start talking again. I said, brother, are you okay? And you said you felt different. You felt different. That's all you gave me. And he goes, maybe we should just call it, and I'm going to say a word of prayer. I said, okay. So I was still standing outside of the truck, leaning against by the front tire. And I was looking at Barry, and then I put my head down and closed my eyes. And I was praying at the same time he was. And when I looked up and looked over at Barry, the bottom half of him was wavy. And I just kind of looked at him, and I was like, what? So I just got back in prayer, and I started asking God for his healing white light of protection around us. And when I looked at Barry again, it was almost past his waist and up to his chest. And the bottom half, his feet were gone, but you could kind of still see him. Like he was cloaking, but it was, I still can't explain what I was seeing, because it was just unbelievable. But the prayer that he said was so sincere, so loving, and it was for everybody, not just Tonga, not for us. It was everybody throughout the world as he was praying. And it was such a beautiful prayer. And then I called his name, and then when he got done, I said, are you okay? He goes, man, I feel kind of drained. So he got in the truck, and then we got in, and we started driving off. And that was just an experience. I just could not believe what I was seeing, is that my brother had my head down in prayer. When I looked up at him to make sure that he was okay, because he was standing so far away from me, his bottom half, you could still kind of see his thighs. You couldn't see his feet too much or his calves, but you could still kind of see. So I put my head down. I was like, no, I'm not seeing this right. It's just because I'm tired. It's foggy. So I looked up again, and I seen him, and that's when it was his bottom all the way up to his waist it was gone. He was just like wavy. It was just, you could tell the bottom portion was like he cloaked. He was cloaking. And that's what I asked him when he got in the truck. And he goes, I don't know. It just seemed like something took over me. And I think Tonga did that to you, brother. Because remember how you was responding to me? You was telling me, yeah, I could feel them. It's like to me, it was like they took over your body to let you see, and then you start cloaking just as they were. It was unbelievable. To this day, I thank God, for the faith that we have in our hearts and our minds and our spirits, because watching my brother disappear, and first thing I wanted to do was go run over there and grab him and just wrap my arms around him to make sure he's safe, and he's going to be staying here on this plane with us, with me. I didn't want anything to happen to him, and I just kept praying for God to help us and keep us in good thoughts, good feelings, and his healing white light around us, because I just did not want to lose my brother wherever the rest of his body was going. So I put my head down as I was praying this, and I looked up, and then he was standing there just as normal as can be. He no longer was disappearing, but he was coming to the end of his prayer. He was continuing to prayer, and in prayer, And I don't even think he realized what was happening to him. I still like to know, what did you feel, brother?
I'm glad you said that, referred that to me, because, you know, I'll say this. And Michael, are you still awake?
Oh yeah, I'm all ears.
All right. Well, I can tell you that that the feeling that I got, and believe me, I'm one of those guys that would love to tell anybody that, hey, just pack some food and bring your thermo and dress warm and let's go see Sitonga. You know, that hasn't been the case. And I'll tell anybody to this day, you know, that it's spiritual. And the message, the feeling that I got was that they spoke through me after having, you know, in retrospect, they were speaking through me. I was kind of, the best way I can describe it was I was in two different worlds, because everything felt empty around me, like I was floating, so to speak. And that's weird, man, for me to say that. But I felt like I was in another world, but I was speaking to them, to Marcella and Linda. And I remember one message that came through me is they didn't want to be worshipped.
Yeah, that's right.
They didn't want to be worshipped like they have, you know, godly. They respected God, and they're trying to live their best life.
Mm.
And then the other message is they would love to show themselves, but some people are scared. And I think that's why, and Michael, you have to understand that that I would never say those things, you know, to my sister and my sister-in-law. And I was saying things and my head was turning, and so I was really in two different worlds, is the best way I can describe it. And when she says that my body was disappearing, you know, I remember asking her, you know, wow, because there was something different about it. I mean, it was a deep state of spirituality. And I think the message they shared is that we love God too. And we perform things through him. So don't worship us. You know, we get our blessings from him too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's the truth, man. You know, whether anybody out there wants to dispute or have an opinion about it, I don't personally care. But I think the hard truth is that happened. And again, I wished it could be a good old boy hunting trip, but that's not the case. That is not the case. This is spiritual, man.
It is absolutely spiritual, and once you get on that track, that's the whole game right there. It's stories like this that what got you and me together, because as I told you way back earlier this year, I've also had them take over my body, take over my breathing, to show me how it's done for humans. And you have to build up a lot of power inside of you. It takes a lot of power to do it, a lot of breath power, a lot of energy. And then, so I was breathing really hard, and they were breathing me, if you could say that. And then when it got to the point where I thought I couldn't take it anymore, I sat up from being in bed, right? And I looked down and my leg was gone. My left leg was gone. I could see the bed right through it. And that this is a very high state of being. I mean, you don't necessarily feel different, but it's a very high state of being. It's a high spiritual state, and it has to do with the heart. You know, and and the other thing is so important is the team effort. In other words, we can go invisible, but the way we are now, it would have to be with a Sasquatch or one of those angel beings, an angel being on the right and the left, and they can take us into that other world. The other thing I wanted to throw in real quick is I talked to the people from the CE5 people, the people who called down the craft, and they called down a spacecraft. These same kind of things are happening to them. They will have 30 or 40 people, and they will be meditating, all meditating, trying to get into the heart. And some of them will fast so that they can get prepared. And then they meditate, and then they chant. And then the spirits come, and the lights come. And sometimes portals open, and sometimes these beings come in and out of portals. And then they've taken as many as 40 people into another realm. So this is what's going on, and all of it has one thing in common, and that is this very high spiritual energy. You're not going to get there with guns in your pocket and you know, and smoking pot and drinking beer and joking around. That's not the way it goes. So I am so glad that you're talking about these, because people need to know that what's real about the Sasquatch people is the spiritual side.
There's definitely a higher plane, like I would call it. I also want to say this because, Michael, I'm going to do a documentary on the young juvenile, and I want to invite you up on September 7th or 8th to come and experience that with us. The filming, and I got my brother Richard Soule and Paul Lane, and I think this is the first Linda will hear of it, but we're going to go out there and we're going to film it and talk about it and do our own little documentary, because that's how special, you know, that one was to me. And to this day, you know, with Linda, just about, and I'm gonna throw this out there, just about any night I can interact with the juvenile, and I think that's their way of saying, you know, that's a good guy right there. You know, let him pray for you. That's what I get. Now, Linda, can I interact with that one any given night?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you.
Takes a little bit of letting him know that you're there, but once he understands that it's you, oh yeah, most definitely.
Well, you got your whole family, pretty much for your whole life, has been have known about these people, and have been either in some kind of contact, either it's very casual, like they're just normal, or have been in deep spiritual contact. And that's another thing that is a lot of the people who are now friends with and family with the Sasquatch people, is it goes back generations. You know, their grandparents and their grandparents have known them, and some of them have fed them or friended them, or they've been on the same land. So the families grow up together, the young ones and the young humans. That's pretty beautiful, really.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Michael, I want to again remind people as they watch us, they can go to REZ Squatchin Research Community on Facebook and join our page. We'll have some pretty good stuff on there coming up soon. There's some topics I want to address, and so it's just a really great page. You know, I think our page is growing every day, and so I just wanted to put a plug in for our page. We're going to be doing some special events.
You got how many? You got a couple thousand, or how many? You got like 1,700. How many people you got in your group now?
I've got a little over 2,700 people and growing every day.
Yeah, it's a good sized group, and everybody's pretty respectful in there. I like that about your group. I'm a member of that group.
You bet. I appreciate you, man, being a part of that. So I think for the most part, I think that we covered just about everything I I felt like we wanted to. What do you think?
Yep, I think so too.
Okay,
I know I went through it pretty fast. I'm sorry about that, but tell it like it is and get to the point right away. It's how I
well,
felt.
you know, we could go into like the feeling and sensation, but I mean, it's you so far we've had you talked about the juvenile, which is a major story, and we talked about prayer and not just prayer, but being in your heart so that people could you know it's like that the grace, like some people call it the grace. There's that, and then you had the angels, the one with the angels that you could see, which were also and the lights. That was another major one, and that could be gone over. And then another really big one is this when you go on half invisible or half cloaking, and you're not the only one. I mean, it's rare, but there are other people who have it just happens to, and maybe it just happens to them as like a gift. But to me, these are teachings, and they're not just teachings; they're personal teachings for us, but they're teachings for the whole world. You know what I mean? What they're saying is, if the Sasquatch can do it, then we can do it, and that's powerful teaching. You know, that's powerful medicine, because we don't think of ourselves as being able to go invisible or to be able to mind speak or any of that kind of stuff. But with their help, they're showing us how to do it. So that's pretty beautiful. You know, that's like a gift to humanity.
Well, Michael, you always seem to impress me every time we talk. And well, I appreciate your insight. I appreciate your wisdom. And it's just a good feeling to know that there's other people, like-minded people uh, that believe and know that this is how it happens.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So it's refreshing, man. Believe me, I love coming on your show.
Well, you got a lot to say. I'm not even sure this is all of it, you know, because there's, you know, what's interesting about your team is how much contact and how rich your contact is. I mean, to you, it's normal to have 8 Sasquatch around you every night, and some of them far away and some of them close. That's unheard of for most people, you know, except for the people who are family. You know, they've been living on the same land for long periods of time. It's normal for them. But for researchers who have to go out into the field, that's pretty much unheard of, you know, to have that kind of a relationship. And the Sasquatch elders coming around and seeing how you're doing, and there's no threatening, there's no you know, there's respect on both sides, and there's acceptance on both sides. That's pretty profound stuff.
You know, Michael, I want to throw in something else. You know, I for a long time, I've always had to think about it. But more and more over the years, I'm convinced, and in fact, I'm totally convinced that these are people. These are they ain't no beast. They ain't no. These are people, you know, trying to exist and trying to again coexist with us as they did with my ancestors, but just doing it in a more cautious kind of precarious or whatever that word is kind of way with us. And I'm a firm believer in that, and that they're not here to hurt us. They're just here to experience and to live by God's laws just like us.
Yes. Yes, that's true.
So
I think
anyway,
the message I get from them is that they want to teach the all one and no space. And the all one to them means we are all one. Nobody's above, nobody's below. And what you can do, we can do. And what we can do, you can do. And then that respect, you know, let them be the way that they are, and they let us be the way that we are, but we can still meet in our hearts. And that's a powerful medicine. That's a powerful story there. You know, that you can meet in your heart, you know.
Yeah.
That everything is one. Everything, there's nothing that's created that doesn't have God in it. You know what Christ said when he was going. I think he was going to Jerusalem on the donkey, and there were all these people were screaming, "Hallelujah!" You know, and they had the palm fronds there, and somebody said, "You know what happens if you?" He said, "What happens if you quiet these people?" And he said, "If these people are quiet, then the rocks themselves will sing Hallelujah." You know, and that's part of the all one. You know, and this is the great tradition for the First Nations people. They're saying nature, all of nature is one, you know, and we or the Western Europeans got to get back to realize that all of nature is one, and Mother Nature is one, you know, and we need to be able to connect to her and to all of nature.
You know, Michael, let me add something to the story of the juvenile. And I hope my sister is in tune here, because if she remembers, we hadn't gone out for a while. And
That's right.
the message to them was, hey, you know, it's been over a month and a half. We need to get out there. You know, it was just this feeling I had. And when we went out to this certain area, it was the first area we went to, and they were waiting. So that's the point I want to make. They were waiting for us.
That's true, because that's what it felt like. That's what it felt like. And then when you were, you know, part of your body gone, do you remember what you said? That because when you were speaking to me at that time, your voice was like 3 octaves lower than what your voice is now. And they said, we are nobody. And that just hurt my heart. But then you explained it to me that they're just like us. Remember that?
Yeah.
They said that we're nobody. That still gets to me. It still hurts a little bit, but I understand what their message is after you explained it.
Well, that goes to the all one. You can't be yourself and the all one at the same time. You have to be willing to let go of the self, and then you enter into the all one. So in a way, that's a high teaching too. Could you repeat again what Barry was saying in the second voice when he's saying something about can you?
They said we are nobody.
Not that part. The part where you said, "Can you? Would you be afraid to see
Will
me?"
you be scared if I show myself? And I was ready. I was standing there ready, and I was anxious for this time, because in all the times I was going out with Barry, I've never seen one since I was a little girl. But in retrospect, I don't know. Had I said yes, I think I would have hurt my friend really badly. And I don't want nobody's mind to be hurt if they're not ready to be, you know, for this next step of seeing them up close up front. Because Barry was only like 10 feet away from me. And to see one that close, I don't know if Marcella would have been able to handle something like that, or seeing something that close. And
Or just Barry turn into a Sasquatch in the image, you know. Yeah.
It would have been just,
Would have been a
I couldn't
shock.
have done it. Yeah, so I didn't want to. That's why I just said no, because I just got that feeling from her, the terrifiedness of this. And I was like, okay, will you be scared if I show myself? Answer me, he said to me, and will you be scared? And Barry never talks to me like that. And I said no. I just told him, yeah, I'm going to be scared. And I felt so bad for lying about that. To this day, I just feel bad because I told a lie, and I'm just anxiously waiting. But then you have to think about the people around you too. And so there'll be a time, and sure enough, them times have come.
Well, Chris, let me add to that, because
Sure.
now my mind's going blank as I had that thought in my mind. But I really believe, that during that time, when it was all said and done, I felt like I was lowered, like I was in the air. And as I again,
You did say that.
and I felt like when I was done praying, I staggered forward, and I remember turning to you guys, just bawling. I had tears coming. I remember you grabbed me, and I was trying to wipe the tears, and it was just a incredible experience, man.
And you were crying, so that yeah, I didn't hear that part. You were actually crying. I mean, because the feeling was so powerful.
Good cry.
Good cry, yeah.
The humbleness of it all, the spirituality of it all.
Humbled. That's a good word.
Because when I did grab him, you could just feel it, and it just pulled at my heart even more, because he was, and I won't mention it. I don't go around, whatever. It's just not our way to be that way. You let them have their moment, and you assist them and help them out. And we walked back over to my truck. I remember that, Barry, now that you brought that up. Oh.
Yes, sir. Well,
before we close out, I wanted to ask one more thing, because there's each of these things is so rich. Okay, you both talked about how the juvenile's eyes looked like they were brighter, or his whole face looked like he was brighter. Could you talk more about that? Because I think that's an important thing there.
my granddaughter here. Can you repeat that again, Michael? I'm sorry.
When you had the juvenile coming down from going down to on the branch, and you both said something about how his eyes looked different. That his eyes looked lighter, even though it was dark at night. His eyes looked lighter. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, Michael, I'm glad you brought that up, because I suppose if you're a critic out there, you could easily say, well, could he have mistaken that for an owl? And I can tell you this, that it was 4 feet from me. And I know what an owl looks like. The shape, the ears, and just that tiny body. He had a real calm spirit about him. It was almost like they wanted him to come forward, and to this day, they're still allowing him to come to experience the prayer and the sharing of the gospel. Am I right, sis?
You are totally correct.
They allow him to come forward, and I talk about the gospel to them, and that's what. And that's what's powerful. He had a little, he wasn't developed, obviously. He didn't have those big features, or he was just kind of a young one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I could tell you. It was hard to see, the detailed body, but he was gray in color. I don't know if that helped you, Michael.
Well, you said something about his eyes being lighter.
Yeah, well, they were actually glowing.
Eye shine.
Eye shine. They were protruding out, and you could see it one time. I saw him look down at the branch, and he actually lit the branch up with the beam.
Yep, that's true.
Okay, so he lit the branch up with his eye shine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, now that puts it on another whole level.
This is the real deal, Michael, man. Again, just something I hope to continue. Now, let me ask my sister this. What do you think would happen, sis, if I went out by myself?
Oh, you'd have the most beautiful experiences. They would because look at the time when you came down here to my place. They followed you all the way from your place over here. and I followed you out, remember?
Yeah.
And it was like a Christmas tree. It was just light all the way along the tree line along my driveway. I got a half-mile lane. And oh my gosh, I was like, they just follow him everywhere. And I believe my brother would have the most amazing experiences, the kindness of his heart, his mind, his spirit. My brother's a really good man. And I'm just so proud to know my brother. I just love him so much. And I believe that's how they would feel the same way because of what he offers when he does go out. You don't see him doing all this woo or this wood knocking or stamping around or, just trying to force them to react. It's a kindness of my brother's heart, his mind and spirit that brings them around. And man, I would love to hear the stories if my brother came back and told us if he did go out by himself on his own, and he's gone out, but it's just to check some reports and stuff that people call him on. But oh, Barry, could you imagine what that would be like? That would be cool. That'd be beautiful. I mean, that's what would hit me. That hits me so much.
Yeah, I'd love to take Michael out with me.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah, that would be something. That'd be like a dream come true because one of the things that Sasquatch, I think it was even before I was talking to, or I met LindaJo, we were talking about my friend Sunbow. He's the one who wrote those books about Sasquatch Message to Humanity, and he's actually he's Canadian, but he's a pipe carrier. So he's been around First Nation for his whole life. But anyway, he said the Sasquatch message to him now is don't go looking for us, in the woods. Look for us in your heart. And that's the exact same message they gave to me, because I'm not the kind of a person who goes walking in the woods. I never have. I was never a hunter. I was more of a boat guy. And I'm an older guy now. So to me, they'd let me know that to connect with them, I have to connect with them in my heart. And that means for me, I'm with them all the time, every day. Anytime I connect, I can feel them. But I think that's a good message too, is it's not about going into the woods. It's about going into your heart. Then if you're in the woods or you're off, playing horseshoes, there, you know what I mean? They're going to be there.
You bet, man. I appreciate it, Michael.
Well, I think maybe we could wind it down because I don't want to try to make it look like a big deal here, but this was a full dinner. We did a full dinner, and coincidentally, the Zoom people said, "Oh, we're going to give you, we're not going to limit you to 40 minutes." So we already went like an hour and 10 minutes already. So they gave us like a little gift, I guess. I think that's kind of fun.
Oh, that's nice of them.
All right, so I guess we'll say goodnight and God bless.
Yeah, same to you, Michael. Appreciate it.
Yep.